here. I, Dr. Pronima Bagchi, on behalf of Dr. Vishwanath Karad, MIT World Peace University, welcome each one of you to the third edition of Indcon, a revolutionary online conference between industry and academia to drive research and development policy reforms in India. This 3-day virtual conference will have different sessions aligned with the theme of this year, which is building stronger research and development ecosystem, enabling Saksham Bharat Abhiyan. I request my technical team to kindly relay a video on the theme of this event.
Becoming a global leader is a noble dream. What is our strength as India? It is knowledge. The strength of a nation in the digital age we find ourselves in is governed solely by its Research and Development Index. The speed by which technology is accelerating has been unmatched since the dawn of humanity. India boasts of the largest manpower pool under the age of 30 in the world. Though we have potentially a gold mine of researchers with us, we barely produce any research. We have to import technology from nations like China. Our universities and our industry do not seem to share the deep connection that they do in countries like the US or China. That is why the IMC's Knowledge Committee, in association with MIT World Peace University, are hosting Indcon, a revolutionary online conference between industry and academia. The way for India to become a global leader lies in its repository of knowledge. Indcon is the way to do so.
Indcon 2020-2021 is organized by IMC Chamber of Commerce and Industry under the leadership of Shri Rajiv Poddar and Knowledge Committee Chairman Shri Rahul V. Karad. Dear delegates and participants, I gladly welcome you all to this third conclave of the series focusing on Bengaluru and Chennai regions. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce CIAP briefly. The Center for Industry Academia Partnerships was started with the intention to build collaborations with industry and academia to encourage the maximum potential and impact outcomes. The step taken is in this direction to develop innovative solutions through process-driven approach. It's indeed my privilege to introduce Mr. Praveen Patil, the CEO of Center for Academia Partnerships, who has been a pioneer in developing it and taking this initiative ahead by bringing a significant change within the university. After having a brainstorming session in the inaugural of this conclave, we are now heading towards session 1, which is on the topic Role of Educational Institutions in Research and Development Initiatives in India. I would again request my technical team to kindly relay a video on the theme of session 1 of this conclave.
The role of educational institutions in advancing the research and development is becoming critical. Academic R&D is an integral part of the innovation economy with contributions in the form of patents, new commercial products, skilled employees, new companies, job creation and tax revenues. Innovation is intrinsically linked to R&D activities, and Indian universities need to focus more sharply on constantly enriching the research culture.
Thank you so much. It is my honor to introduce the esteemed panel for this session. We have with us Mr. Nitin Garg, the Director of International School of Management and Excellence, who will be joining with us shortly. We have with us Mr. Rajaram Venkatraman, the CEO of Welltech Technology Business Incubator. Welcome, sir. We also have Mr. Krishna Mariyanka, the partner of Ajira Global Bangalore. Welcome, sir. We have Dr. Anil Hiwale, the Associate Dean of Faculty of Engineering and Technology at MIT World Peace University, as a moderator of this session. Welcome to you too, sir. Before handing this session to the moderator, I would like to make an important announcement to our participants. If you have any questions, you can post it in the chat box or the Q&A section that you can see flashing in front of your screen. If time permits, our moderator will be taking a few of the questions and redirecting it to our esteemed panel. And now I would formally hand over the session to Mr. Anil Hiwale. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Purnima. Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to welcome all the distinguished panelists and all the participants who are present for this very important session on role of educational institutions in research and development initiatives in India. Fellow participants, educational institutions in general and higher educational institutions in particular always have a greater impact on socio-economic growth of the country. And in fact, the entire world knows it. In the inaugural session also, the distinguished speakers, they touched upon these crucial points of research, creativity, innovation, promoting the culture of research and innovation in our country. What's important is the definition of education cannot be confined and should not be confined or limited only to the teaching, learning, and transferring the knowledge. However, a lot of value addition should happen during the process of education for inculcating skills, values, morals, and engaging students in relevant training programs and research and innovation. It's not like only those who are a part of research institute or pursuing PhD should do research, but research is necessary for everyone to grow, to become successful. Somewhere I read that conducting research is not just important, it is imperative. Research and development is an integral part of innovation economy. And let us accept the fact that as a country, we lack in research and development efforts. And it is extremely important to focus on creating the culture and ecosystem of research and development. Recently, our Honorable Vice President, Shri M. Venkaiah Naidu ji, stressed on the need to develop a culture of innovation in India. So to discuss on this important topic today in this session, we have three eminent speakers. Two of them have already joined. So it's my duty to give you a brief introduction of these esteemed panelists. So first of all, I'll introduce Mr. Krishna Mariyanka, more fondly known as Brand Kitty. He is an effective consultant, a stunning speaker, and a cogent trainer in the global brand and communications industry. Krishna began his professional career in the field of public relations some 20 plus years ago. It was quickly followed by the key internal and external communication assignments in some very large and multinational corporations. He is a former corporate communications advisor of Shell Technology India, Royal Dutch Shell Company Netherlands, and the former country marketing communications head of Tektronix India. He is currently a brand and reputation expert at Ajira Global Bangalore. Krishna is a mechanical engineering graduate from Bangalore Institute of Technology, postgraduate in public relations and journalism, and holds post-graduation certificate in business management and from Accelerate Jamshedpur. He has traveled extensively across the world and has spoken at many international media and communication platforms. We are happy to welcome you, Krishna. The another speaker, the panelist which we have, is Mr. Rajaram Venkatraman. Mr. Rajaram is an outcome and impact driven strategic digital transformation leader, innovation catalyst, ecosystem creator, technologist, engineering coach, and researcher who helps established organizations as well as SMEs and startups on innovation labs and culture development. He brings perspectives on various areas relating to the CXO and senior leadership agenda and is a certified independent director from the Institute of Directors. He is currently the CEO of Welltech Technology Business Incubator and Entrepreneurship Ecosystem, where he has built a vibrant innovation ecosystem with startup entrepreneurs, mentors, investors, partners, trainers, evangelists, and associates. He is also a strategic advisor to few SME companies and is a mentor in IIT Madras eCell. He has conceptualized and managed 5 products, platforms, and holds a US patent, which is granted to him for innovation farming in enterprises. Apart from his experience with innovation co-creation, he has conceptualized, architected, and chaired international conferences and delivered keynotes. He is an author of a US patent on systematic innovation farming in enterprises. Welcome, Mr. Rajaram Venkatraman.
Thank you.
Third speaker for this particular session is Mr. Nitin Garg, who would be joining shortly. Mr. Nitin holds an MBA from Carnegie Mellon University, USA, and bachelor's and master's in mechanical engineering from Indian Institute of Technology, Bombay. He is currently pursuing his PhD from IIM Lucknow. Mr. Nitin is currently the director and one of the founding members of ISME, one of the leading business schools in Bangalore. At inception of ISME, he was considered one of the youngest directors of a B school in the world. He was conferred the International Achievers Award for Academic Excellence by Indian Achievers Forum at Bangkok, Thailand, for making ISME achieve excellence in the area of management education in a very short time. Nitin's passion lies in the intersection of technology, business entrepreneurship. Nitin has been very active outside his education and academic career. We are happy to welcome Nitin, who would be joining soon. So now I think I'll first request Mr. Rajaram to give his opening remarks on the role of educational institutions in R&D initiatives in India. Over to Mr. Rajaram, please.
Thank you, Professor Anil, and thank you to the organizers of this fantastic conference and a very highly relevant topic of the day. So it cannot be better than this. We're very, very happy to everyone once again. At 8:36 a.m. Indian Standard Time on July 21st, 1969, the American astronaut Neil Armstrong put his left foot on the lunar surface and famously declared, "That is one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." For a nation to be amongst the best of nations, scientific and technology advancement, R&D innovations are the most important items in a knowledge economy. This phrase is the apt one to inspire India as well as the scientific and technology community, including academia, research, and industry, to take a giant leap with efforts from each and every Indian citizen. A play-to-win approach by a young and growing nation like India, seeking a radically different development path. Neil Armstrong's phrase, denoting small steps by millions of people that can culminate in a giant leap forward for the nation, is a very, very important and apt one. A phrase that academia, industry, citizens, entrepreneurs, business leaders, investors, government leaders associate with a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to lift millions into prosperity. An approach that industry leaders can use to build new capabilities for profitable growth, a state of mind focused on possibilities while recognizing roadblocks in solving a wide set of challenges facing the academia and the nation. If we truly believe that every small step that we as every Indian citizen take towards advancing the cause of science and technology will make us stronger and richer, India will be taking a giant step in its prowess and standing amongst the League of Nations. We are demonstrating that India is second to none in terms of capability, provided we invest the right resources, put enough focus. Clearly, we are seeing examples of our ISRO, ISRO, DRDO, our recent Tejas fighter aircraft is matching the capabilities needed for an advanced and latest generation fighter aircraft. There are several other examples, which we are aware. Quite a lot of research and development has gone into developing all of these capabilities over tens of years or decades, several decades. If you take the Global Innovation Index, the global benchmarking of nations, India has steadily moved from 81st to 48th rank in a matter of 5 years. The Global Innovation Index is being anchored by the World Intellectual Property Organization, WIPO, United Nations, INSEAD of France, and Cornell University, the knowledge partner. So various factors they look into include the innovation capacity, the capability, the innovation output, IP filing, R&D spend, VC funding, the STEM talent. So, various other factors. These are the primary factors. The top 12 countries today are Switzerland, Sweden, US, UK, Netherlands, Denmark, Finland, Singapore, Germany, Korea, Hong Kong, China, and France. So India, incidentally, is ranking in the 48th, and I'm sure with focused efforts, with every little effort from every corner of India, we are going to see our progress to the top 10 and 5 in a matter of another 3 to 4 years. I am really confident about that. Based on the various initiatives that have been launched by the government, and we are today the third largest startup ecosystem in the world, next to China and US. So we are going to be in the top 5 or top 10 in the next 4 to 5 years. So it is very, very important to do our global benchmarking. Incidentally, even though we do not want to talk about China, but we cannot help but notice China's meteoric rise and the huge leap they have taken. Whether it is the research volume, the quality, the infrastructure, the citations and the research references, the monetization, China seems to be way ahead. We have a lot of learning and a catch up to do. in terms of research and development and innovation. An economic superpower like India, leading the world's GDP with a contribution of 25% of the GDP, about 500 to 600 years ago, India was leading the world's GDP, has fallen to this low purely due to the disconnect and systematic destruction that has happened during the intervening years, during the British rule and all the chaos that has happened during this time. So we need to connect back to our ancient methods. If you see our ancient methods and ask questions as to why they did a particular thing using the 5 whys technique, right? Keep on asking why 5 times. You will end up in a root cause, and that will be so alarming, so profound, that why our people were doing a particular thing without proper explanations, reasoning. Many of these practices went away. They were not carried forward, but they all have fantastic root cause and reasoning. So one of the important factors for research and development is empathy and problems, right? Empathy towards people who are having the problems, and we should have a large number of problems to work on. So empathy is a quality that we all have, we display in plenty. Problems are also in plenty. So we need to adopt design thinking while arriving at solutions to these problems. Our research and development needs to be well directed towards uplifting the poor by solving the problem in a low cost and functionally effective way. This is where our R&D focus has been driven by UN's Sustainable Development Goals. There are about 17 goals, which constantly our government is also reminding us. Department of Science and Technology does most of the initiatives around these goals. The social, economic, and environmental dimensions. This is what is called in industry also as triple bottom line. This is a very, very important theme for all our research and development efforts. So if you look at the major forces shaping the world and India, so once upon a time, business as usual was often good enough. But in a world, today's world, everything is connected, everything is changing, everything is digital. So where we are leading to, good enough is not at all enough. Good enough is dead, right? It will not work out. We are leading to a world of digital transformation, augmentation, disruption, disintegration, mobilization, and automation. Science fiction is not anymore fiction. It is all becoming science facts. Bots, right? Robots. Bots are increasingly taking care of most of the repetitive rule-based jobs. Not only abroad, but also have started happening in India. Many of the conversational interfaces are becoming bots. Many of the websites today use bots without even we realizing it. Only if you ask complicated questions, really a person will come and respond. Otherwise, bots are doing most of the talking. So we need to learn to work with bots. The skills we need for this kind of new world are dramatically different from the earlier times. For this new world, the older traditional paradigms are not at all good enough. In order for an institution to be relevant, it has to work on researching the future technologies, embedding the future technologies. We need to be people who are learning continuously. So if you take even in India, the digital transformation has reached the villages. We are connecting the villages with fiber, broadband. Mobiles are there with almost 1 in 2 villages. They have bank accounts. All have bank accounts due to Jan Dhan Yojana. Technology, R&D, and innovation is becoming very, very crucial for the development and upliftment of the nation. So if you come to academic R&D from higher educations in India, I was speaking to a few people more like primary research to find out what is their view and what is happening. So increasingly, our research and development scope should include the rural hinterland. If you ask questions to the academia, they come up with myriad problems. So if you take the higher education, one of the important things is research infrastructure, such as analytical equipment, the scanning microscopes, the TEM, SEM. We all need more publications, but lagging in research infrastructure. We are also not giving time to the faculty members for the research work. Lot of struggle to get on duty to attend conferences and events. Also, our academic curriculum has got a lot of paperwork nowadays. I think those all have to change. See, the time for research, there needs to be some clear allocation. Our faculty are not able to balance time for research versus the time for teaching. Something is happening, it is being done for their own promotion. It is a must. That is a kind of uptake. It is not leading to really product innovation, IP filing. Many of the research are not well synchronized with the societal and environmental problems. The way we measure performance at academia and research level needs to change. There are issues like budgets, equipments and infrastructure, time for research, skills and techniques. Again, the secondary research, primary research, using techniques and tools for research, all of those need vast improvement. Again, there are some universities who started doing market-aligned courses taken by industry people. More and more industry folks need to be part of the curriculum, inculcating a hands-on approach. So on the, I was listening to the Professor Asutosh Sharma, the DSC secretary, and he was talking about how to address this particular problem. As part of our incubator meeting, we were interacting with Professor Asutosh Sharma to a question on this infrastructure problem. He responded saying that now the DSC on the SATI, right, Sophisticated Analytical and Technical Help Institute. They have created one in IIT Delhi, which has the science and technology infrastructure. These centers will be equipped with major analytical instrument and advanced manufacturing facility, which is usually not available in regular educational institutes and organizations. The aim is to provide professionally managed services with efficiency, accessibility, and transparency of the highest order under one roof to service the demands of industry, startups, and academia. So if you come to COVID-19, it has done some positive things as well. It has shrunk the whole world and connected the world through more of digital. One need not need to travel for conferences and events anymore. Of course, we lose the networking element because of the absence of the physical format. However, from a pure knowledge element, one can still attend global conferences in a very cost-effective manner. So coming to some examples of what we have done, what I have seen in IIT Madras, what I have seen in Beltech. So if you take IIT Madras, it's a eminent institute of eminence, and obviously it has one of the best industry connects. The alumni involvement, the industry connects, the professor involvement has been one of the highest across India. For example, one of the design thinking element that came out of IIT Madras is the standing wheelchair, right? So this is where, this is what happens when innovation meets necessity and empathy, right? So somebody felt the people who are physically handicapped, either from birth or from those because of accidents or due to some other malady, they all need to stand up. They also want to feel, you know, they want to stand up and feel good without any help from others, right? See, that is when your blood flow will happen, your legs will get strengthened. There is also the psychological element of really standing up rather than just sitting and becoming invalid. So called Arise, they have come out with a fantastic wheelchair at the cost of 15,000 rupees, and it is going like hotcakes with the professor from mechanical engineering, Professor Sujata Srinivasan, who has spearheaded it, and along with TTK Center. So industry academia involvement, and this is a fantastic innovation which helps mankind, which is also design element involved in this. Aether Energy, the electric scooter which is already launched in the market, in which Hero Motor Group has invested more than 200 crores, is from IIT Madras students. So Avishkar Hyperloop, the revolution in mobility, is one of the top 21 teams selected across Asia to enter the finals of the SpaceX Hyperloop pod competition that happened 1.5 years ago. I know of professors who are working on real life problems, the air quality in Delhi. I was invited to be a judge in one of the hackathons. It was a national level hackathon where with the IoT devices across Delhi, the professor and the students have captured air quality index, identified, so much of data collection has happened. Similarly, at Chennai, in particular areas, industrial areas like Ambattur, they have captured a whole lot of data and they shared it for the national hackathon with the, with the AI and ML people, the teams. There were hundreds of teams which participated, shortlisted, and then the teams that were in the top 10 were doing, predicting air quality levels. They're coming out with the solutions to prevent it. It was very, very heartening to see that real life problems are being worked out at our educational institutions. There are several other examples from IIT Madras. In the interest of time, I'm not going into that. So coming to Vailtech TBI, which is my parent institution, so we have been fortunate to have, we are one of the first, one of the 5 in India to have the highest kind of program allotted by DST called Nidhi Center of Excellence. It is a 20 crore plus fund for setting up various centers of excellence and also provide seed funding to the startups. We also have Nidhi Prayas, idea to prototype building grants, and then Methi programs, entrepreneurship in residence, prototype to MVP building grants. We are knowledge partner to the Tamil Nadu Entrepreneurship Development Institute. We are associated with FICCI and as well as SIDBI for funding schemes. There are about 15 VCs and angels, along with several HNIs who are part of our funding. We are also working on the CSR funding for the incubator. One of the things what we have done from a student perspective is the CDIO initiative. So we are members of the global CDIO initiative from Europe, a very, very innovative educational framework for producing the next generation of engineers. The framework provides students with an education stressing engineering fundamentals set in the context of conceiving, designing, implementing, operating real-world systems and products. So if you take our education system today, it is all theory, right? They don't get to work on real-life products, nothing hands-on, right? Really, except for maybe engineering, drawing, and a few other stuff. But really, people are not working on real-world items. So if you ask an electrical engineer to put a fuse, you would not know. Jokingly, it happened. One of my friend's brother, who is an electrical engineer, there was a power outage only in their flat, and his brother asked him to go and check whether the fuse. So he was not even aware of. This is just one small example. What I am trying to say is, the CDIO kind of initiative, right from the first year onwards, engineering, it makes people to work on prototypes, proof of concepts, and things like that. So there needs to be a physical proof of concept or a prototype or a video or some application to demonstrate the concept. So, and we are also at Welltech TVA, where we have several industry connections. WAPCO has set up their Center of Excellence here. Mahindra, we work with ARI Pune. So many overseas and Indian collaborations with corporates. So we take a lot of industry problems and give it to students for projects. Faculty also closely work with the industry to solve some of these problem statements. So Smart India Hackathon is a fantastic initiative from the Ministry of Education to solve the industry problems by the group of students. The initiative has been a great success. It has both the software as well as hardware editions, and this has proven to generate fantastic solutions to some of the real world problems. And some of these, or many of these, have gone ahead to become companies and startups. And I already talked about the government bringing the initiative SATI to solve the problem of infrastructure. So while this may take 1 or 2 years to come to spread across India, there are some startups working on pooling the infrastructure in various institutions. So our technology business incubator is one of the, I think, the talking points of the Welltech, Dr. Rangarajan, Dr. Shakuntala, R&D Institute of Science and Technology. We are one of the 5 in the country to get NIDHI Center of Excellence. We have 170 startups who are registered with us. We are the second biggest in Chennai, only to IIT Madras in terms of the numbers. Our strategic partners include Google, Amazon, Zoho, RBL Bank, Paytm, Resilio Labs, Sri Ramachandra University, Medical University, YNOS Venture Engine, Bank of Baroda. There's so many of them who provide value-added, benefits to the startups. We have mentors from Stanford, Google, Twitter, several Silicon Valley entrepreneurs, our Thai Chennai past presidents. We have AI expert from Germany, telecom expert from Singapore, marketing expert from UK, innovation expert from Australia. Not only that, there are several leading serial entrepreneurs from not only Chennai, across Bombay, Delhi, Calcutta, who are part of our mentor network. We have about 15 VCs and angels. We have our startups have applied for 14 patents. There are about 4 granted already. We have won the Best Incubator Award in 2018 from the Anna University Entrepreneurship Summit. In terms of job creation, we have done 500 jobs, permanent jobs, 1,500 plus temporary jobs. In addition to we winning the incubator winning awards, the incubators have several of our startups have got shortlisted in one of the startup shortlisted in US Google Ventures competition that came in the top 50 in the world, and he was paid full expenses right from visa onwards to travel, to stay, and 1 week at Silicon Valley and then back. And his startup is now being due diligence done by Google Ventures. So I know in the interest of time, in summary, I think in order to be relevant in the future, our research should lead to next practices, methods, thought leadership, which is relevant for the future in terms of products and innovations. Very, very important. So I will come back to add more items as we move along. Thank you. Thank you very much for the opportunity. These are my initial remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rajaram, for wonderful opening remarks. The participants have also acknowledged that it's very wonderful remarks from your end. And thank you for bringing in some very good points for discussion. Of course, we'll take these points during question and answer. Before I invite the next panelist, I just want to inform all the participants that if you have any questions related to this topic, you may please type and post these questions in the chat box, which can be addressed by the panelists during Q&A. So thank you, Rajaram, for bringing in some very important points like need of adoption of design thinking, then the concerns like research infrastructure. We are lagging in R&D infrastructure. Then, of course, for academia, people find it difficult to take out time for research, balancing between academics, I mean, teaching and research sometimes becomes difficult for them, budget, etc., etc. These are some of the issues that you raised. And thank you for giving information about Welltech TBI. As you said, it's having very big number of startups, like 170 startups with you after IIT Madras. Just for your information, as you mentioned about Smart India Hackathon, last 3 years, consequently, many of our teams every year, they are winners in Smart India Hackathon.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. So we'll again come back to you we'll have some questions and questions which I'll keep open for you. So now I would like to request Mr. Krishna for his opening remarks. Mr. Krishna, over to you, please.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. At the outset, it's a good afternoon. I think it's a wonderful event that's happening, and I've been watching Rajiv Gowda, Professor Rajiv Gowda speak. He's a good friend to me in Bangalore. We meet quite often, and I also saw Mr. Rajaram Venkatraman speaking a great deal about what IITs and how the gap with the industry and the academia is taking shape, and it's happening over the years. Although I'm a mechanical engineer, I have spent most of my time in the marketing, in the communications, in the branding and the reputation aspect. So I'm going to focus a little bit more on that, how educational institutions can have raised brand themselves so that the techno marketing aspect of it is more relevant, because I've seen Mr. Rajaram speak about IITs. Today's challenge is probably more about the private universities apart from IITs, because IITs, IIMs, all these get funded and grants from government of India and other things. What happens to the universities? What happens to the colleges where the other R&D innovations are happening? How do they position themselves? I think I'm going to talk a little bit more about it. I'm sorry to say that most private universities, I read it somewhere in one of your documents also, that out of the 300 universities of the world, we are not there in any one position for the first top university. I'm a little baffled about this, and what really happens if IITs, IIMs, or other R&D tech, scientific R&D innovations are happening across the world. We're filing patents and intellectual property rights everywhere. Where are we failing? Probably it's the perception that is that we have failed to create in the global scenario, and I think that comes from primarily from how we position ourselves, and I think that's where we have failed in terms of branding ourselves as an educational institution or industry. I'm also a bit surprised that the universities all work with corporates, big corporates like Google, like Amazon, like so many of these institutions, but somehow in terms of the investment from the corporates into these private universities not happening. This is not happening, and I'm hugely concerned about this. If all the big corporates are investing in IITs, yes, that's very good. What happens to the tier 2 or the tier 3 universities? Why are they not investing in it? Is it the perception, or is the capability of these universities? I've seen universities, kind of educational institutions which are non-IIT guys, spending a lot of money in doing a lot of events and activities which will create placement opportunities for the students. What they don't understand is that if they're not developing capable students, capable candidates for their corporates, these activities and events have no meaning at all. Particularly in the industry, I worked in some of the best corporates across the world, and I feel that what these universities, see, these corporates have their own universities inside now. For example, I can tell you companies like where I worked in Shell, for example. Shell has its own Shell University. Philips has its own Philips universities. So each of them have their own university mode of learning and development that's happening. What is that private universities can do to tie up with these kind of universities, whether they can do learning and development, whether they can do any kind of partnership events along with these, so that they know. Most universities are failing in understanding what the industry needs. They're doing projects and they're trying very hard to sell it to the industry, and the industry doesn't need it, or probably they're 5 years behind what has already been achieved. So my feeling is that the education institution gap is coming from that particular thing, because they're not working with what's coming up in the next 5 years. um, for example, oil and gas companies, they're looking at, we are now talking about, Tesla coming in, and for example, Tesla is now in Bangalore opening up their R&D institution. um, so is Shell, so is Philips, so many other companies that are, kind of really being there in the R&D sector. Why are we not looking at 5 years ahead? Why are we just looking and feeding what the customers, what the industry needs it only for this year or the next year? We are not looking 5 years from now, and that's where is the concern, because that's where you find that most of the companies are not happy with the tier 2 private universities, and they're happy with investing in the top grade, 5, because unfortunately, although the number of IITs and IIMs for the years now, it has not done in the last 50 years. So I think this is something that is requires the tier 2 private universities. A lot of investment is there. A lot of students are willing to go spend money, learn these courses in these universities. But once they are done with their university graduation or the post graduation, they find themselves a little handicapped, because they're not really doing projects that are necessary by the industry. The other failure, what I feel, is that the adaptation of technology in these universities, um, they are not up to the mark of requirements in the technology adaptations. So the private companies are unwilling to invest in these private universities. The other major problem what I see in the private universities, is that because they are private, and because they can't open up, or they feel the loss of control of their university kind of administration, I think these are not open to private investments coming into their college. So that's another area that I said. And the other thing is, I've seen engineers, I've seen media and communication professionals, so many of other, kind of technology driven candidates and students. They are going and attending, private company internships, sometimes without pays. This is deeply concerning. And I think you need something for motivating. Is there a possibility of industries on the educational institutions arriving at a minimum paid internships, into paid internships? And I'm stressing this paid internship, because I see many top corporates. I even spoke to a few candidates about a few days back. They tell me that they hire the interns for free, and it's very embarrassing, quite shameful. And I think this is where the education institutions can get together, draw a benchmark where that this is the minimal paid internship that industries need to pay if they want interns, or if they want engineers passing out and do on a PJT, what is the pre-job trainings kind of a thing. I think this is where is the bridge. I think if they get, I think the candidates can get motivated. The other thing I was talking about, creating that brand and reputation for each educational institution, is extremely important. I see great universities having great logos, beautifully marketed websites. All this is great. But at the end of the day, if you're not able to market, position your kind of courses and the kind of knowledge skill what your students are actually getting in your universities, you have failed to impress the industry community. And if the industry community is not impressed, they will not come and hire students, neither will they invest, neither will they partner in your industry, kind of innovations that you're trying to do in your colleges and institutions. The other thing I failed, I've thought about is that it's the communication that happens. Most of the communications are like very high superficial level. There is no technology communications. There is no communication with industry and academia per se that is happening on a meaningful level. Most of them have a marketing tones. It fails to recognize the business value that each of them can add to the other. Um, Also, I was stressing about adaptation and engaging the media that is required to partner these things. Many educational institutions develop, kind of high quality innovations when they partner with the companies, unless they are forced by a non-disclosure agreement. You need to market this. You need to position the actual innovation when you file an IP, or when you file for the patents. Please make sure that use professional public relations agencies, communication agencies, integrate all your channels, and make sure that you do speak about these innovations and patents. Engage them. I see most of the universities have this audacity. I can say that easily. It's an audacity, saying that we are big university. Media will pick up the news that we publish it. It doesn't happen work that way. Storytelling is very important. The storytelling is important from the perspective that the media understands the value that you are adding for the industry, so that they can pick up that story and publish it. Now, I come from both print, electronic, the social, the new age medias. um, all these are requiring the same. True brand storytelling is extremely important, and I think this is highly missing with the educational institutions of today, whether it is kind of private universities, tier 2 or tier 1, tier 3, whatever that is. The other thing I want to tell you is we need to learn, and somewhere Mr. Rajaram was also mentioning about China and US, and we need to catch up a lot. Yes, I think there is no point in just hating some of the universities here and there and feeling envious about it. It's for us to pull up the socks, take up the best practices, capture those things, grab things, and see how we can repackage that, particular innovation that we are trying to do here, and learn from the way they package it. Extremely important. Learn from the way we package it, market it well, and this is something that's important. The other areas we spoke about, of course, Rajaram already mentioned hackathons, industry events, extremely important. We want to use events, we want to use media the effectively, and the communication part of it. So we have white papers, technical briefs, great ideas, best practices, all needs to be packaged. The educational institutions unfortunately fail to use the media effectively because they don't package it all this well, and I think that's one of the shortcomings that are being. And of course, I've already spoken about social media. Using social media is very important because it's the way you will position your brand as an educational institution. It could be Pinterest, it could be Facebook, it could be WhatsApp business accounts, Snapchats, it could be Twitters. All these, I mean, these are very important, and I see many universities don't even have the proper social media presence, and that's ironic. And I feel that that's where they fail the brand positioning of themselves. And with that, I think I would like to end the opening remarks. We can always take questions, and I feel because all these what I spoke are all plenty available in the internet. The only thing is, I think I would love to take questions which are dogging the industry, particularly from the brand and communication perspective, where we're failing to market ourselves, the techno marketing part, in the question and answers, and I'll be happy to answer them outright. Thank you very much, Dr. Hiwale, for inviting us here, and we will be happy to take the questions later on. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Krishna. Thank you so much for bringing in again very important points, like creating brand and reputation is very important for academic institutions to impress industry community. That of course is very important. And then like adaptation of technologies, that is not happening in most of the private universities. You said internship, another point you brought in. Then true brand storytelling is missing in most of the institutions, and the private universities, private institutions, they must try to adapt and take the best practices from some good premium institutions. Thank you so much for the inputs. And we have with us Mr. Praveen Patilji, CEO of our CIAP. May I have Patilji here for his quick remarks?
Yeah, I think I quite agree with what Mr. Krishna mentioned just now. It's not about the successes, it's not about what we do, but it's important to communicate to the world, what we are doing right now. So we've had huge amount of achievements that our students make through the year. Dr. Hiwale, you just mentioned to Mr. Rajaram that our students won hackathon. So just want to share and elaborate that a little further, Mr. Rajaram. Every year there are 29 ministries of Government of India which give different problem statements. I'm sure you're aware. So about 9 to 10 prizes are won by our teams every year.
It's phenomenal.
Yes. And this last year was the first year that our students won only 2 prizes. Not because they are not capable or competent, because MHRD put a rule that not more than 3 entries from each college, because they think every year all prizes are taken over by MIT.
Okay.
Yes,
so this is a fantastic achievement.
Yeah,
really amazing.
And this is where I was saying, Mr. Praveen, you've done so much. It's where we fail is to tell the world.
Absolutely.
To tell the world, the media is willing to buy this.
Yes.
But only thing is, we need to tell the story in a meaningful way that can be absorbed and published somewhere.
Exactly.
Yeah?
Exactly. So to also share with you, recently Google did a competition on some problem statement along with Ministry of IT and Communication, and they launched that. Almost 3,000 teams of different engineers from various colleges participated, which includes NIT, IIT, or regional engineering colleges, tier 1 colleges, tier 2 colleges. You'll be surprised to know the first prize winner was a student of our college.
Huh? This is fantastic. Really.
Absolutely brilliant.
And so the point is, I completely understand and agree. And to that extent, we started very actively. We created our own YouTube channel, and I said, leave aside communicating to press. Let's first communicate to our own university internally. So we started creating videos about successes that happen, and then we started publishing those videos on our YouTube channel. And along with that, even within our own university. And this is just a list of few prizes. I'm telling you the kind of work that our students have been doing, and our teachers, professors. In fact, Dr. Khandekar, who's our Dean of Engineering, is a very research-oriented person. I mean, he always keeps advocating on how research has to improve. In fact, he's created a team and a complete structure, a separate independent center for research. And I'll leave that for Dr. Khandekar to speak a little bit about that. But the point is, so we are research oriented. Yes, we are. We understand the importance of communicating, and in fact, the whole idea of conducting a program like Indcon across the country is also, trying to kind of get all the 3 stakeholders together: the academia, the industry, and the Government of India. So, Government of India or respective state governments. So, it's very important that we get all of this ecosystem together and create a culture of innovation. It's not about putting money. It's not about. So if you look at the amount of investment that the Government of India is making in TBIs, we just had a discussion in the inaugural session that the amount of money we're spending on TBIs is phenomenal. The government is spending and doing a good job around it. But just by setting up a TBI or a university trying to promote the TBI, is it going to create? No. Answer is no. I mean, Dr. Khandekar very rightly spoke in that session. He said, I think the seed of innovation needs to be sowed in the child's mind while he's a student in the school, and not when he comes to the college. By the time he comes to college, his mind is already made up on a lot of things, because he becomes an adult. And as an adult, we tend to feel and want to agree to what we think is right. And we think what is right based on the circumstances which have grown us. But in the growing age, if we inculcate the sense of innovation, I think that's going to help us go a long way in promoting this culture of innovation, the culture of research and development. So the culture is important. It's not about putting investments in brick and mortar structures of a TBI. What will it do? Dr. Khandekar, I want you to come on this and share your mind as well.
No, I was listening to Professor Rajaraman and Krishna very intensely. All the
Are you going to take?
which they have brought and Professor Hiwale has brought. I mean, coming to your point, Praveen ji, I strongly believe that incubators on campus will help, but from where do we create student mindsets and teach them or inculcate this research and innovation in them? We have to go a little back, at early stages. That was the point I was making in the opening uh, uh, session. But coming to the point of, let's say, higher education students, etc., unless and until academia take cognizance of these efforts, there are students who do this kind of effort, but we keep it sideline. Even if there is a different project idea suggested by a student, many of the professors would say that, no, this is not going to work. You work on this, that, etc. So there is a system where we discourage something different, and we do not give enough credits for what he wants to do. We need to change our mindset as a teacher and as a professors also. I take it on me and myself and my team to inculcate that habit. And this year onwards, I'm going to make sure that a student, if he's having any idea, I'm going to consider it as an internship and give him the credits for, I should give him time and ecosystem to work on his idea instead of discouraging him. It may be any idea, but we are making sure that we invest in his idea and give him credits for that as a special case. Okay. And then students will come forward with that idea. Otherwise, a project idea worth 150 marks, if we put marks on that, then the idea itself is killed there. So we want to do that. And Anyway, a lot can be discussed about this, about research and innovation. It's a mindset problem in India that we need to work on it. It's a challenging uphill task, but we as a university and with the help of industry like Mr. Rajaraman and others, we can start building this slowly and steadily in our system. We have to unlearn so many things from the past and do all this kind of things. And you
Dr.
also
Khandekar, I also want you to talk about the center, that the
Okay.
innovation, that
The
front.
other thing which I realized in academia is we work in silos. All researchers work with their PhD students in their labs, with their MTech students, but we are not ready to work on cross interdisciplinary boundaries and work as a team. Therefore, we do not leverage on each other's strengths and the laboratory resources that we have. I have abolished that culture in my university, and I only encourage and support interdisciplinary projects where professors from different departments will work together, maybe mathematics, computer, mechanical, civil. And I support them only in the area of sustainable development goals. So the problems which will help the mankind, humanity, and develop a better society, those problems are internally well supported and funded through the center that we have established, which is going to be an interdisciplinary center. That's it from my side.
Thank you, sir. So, Mr. Krishna and Mr. Rajaram, we know we have some questions now which we can take up. The very first question is, we know there are gaps in current educational system, right? So, to make India as one of the global leaders in research and development, what are the gaps in the educational system that needs to be addressed on priority? Some of the things you already covered, but what are the gaps that needs to be addressed on priority? May I have Krishna? Mr. Krishna, I think you are on mute.
Okay. All right. So I just want to tell you that, the most important thing that we need to understand is the university partnerships. I have seen some of the educational institutions, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, whatever they are trying to reach out to the corporates directly. That's one step. Unfortunately, if tier 2, tier 3 universities are not matching up or scaling up to the expectations of industries or corporations, they're not interested. They will not partner, they'll not invest, they'll always go back to the tier 1. The best approach, I feel, is probably like what MIT is doing. Have industry, or let's say institutional partnerships from tier 2 and tier 1 like IITs. Whether that is going to be a game changer, we'll have to see, because directly going to partnership with corporates, the corporates find a shortcoming from the tier 2, tier 3. So that may not be the best approach. I'm just thinking. But partnering with IITs, for example, educational R&D institutions, so whether they can successfully partner with IITs, there's a lot of learning from IITs as well. Don't forget that. They're top guys and they do that.
True.
So whether we can partner this, and then therefore we can reach up to the corporates, the corporations, probably it's a little indirect approach, could be one of the ways of doing. And I think that's one of the ways of tier 2, tier 3 cities, institutions, education institution, climbing up the ladder of reaching and earning that reputation for the corporations, whether they can participate. That's one idea. Maybe Rajaram has more thoughts about it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea to collaborate with premium institutes and then reaching out to industry. Yeah.
Well, I'm not saying that IITs will agree to that. I'm just telling you. I'm just telling you that that should be an effort. IITs may not want to partner with you guys, but that should be the best way to approach that, I feel. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I tend to agree with Mr. Krishna. I think he nicely put it. Yeah, one of the challenges when I talk to IIT professors is time, the bandwidth. That is the only reason why they will not be able to partner with many of the others. But I think one of the important things we need to do is to, as Mr. Praveen, Professor Praveen, as well as Professor Kandekar talked about, we have to start from the school education, right? The Atal Tinkering Labs. In fact, I was invited to talk about innovation in a school, which is a very progressive and Western-styled school. There I was amazed to see so many 3D printers and students sitting in 6th, 7th standard attended that session. They were asking questions and they knew about Google, Tesla, Elon Musk, so many things. No, I was really amazed. I have talked to so many engineering graduates who are not aware of some of these aspects. And they're not connected with the real latest things happening. But the students of 6th and 7th in that school were highly connected. They were knowledgeable on what is happening. They were doing prototypes. I think that is where the system of Atal Tinkering Labs, starting innovation at the school level, a questioning mindset. See, our students at school level, we are all, when we were educated, we were all afraid of talking to the teachers. The education system is about compliance and not asking questions. There is a fear mindset. All this should go away. A questioning mindset, an observing mindset, with the empathy to real world problems, inspiration to dream for big things, and also taking them to the tour to see the problems with the rural population, the villages, so that they have some empathy to solve the problems in a frugal way. A typical of a US system in terms of observation, questioning, and that is very, very important.
The challenging mindset. Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
exactly. So that is where, as Professor Praveen talked about, a culture of innovation can start even the fear mindset is taken away at the school level. Then as they grow, I think we need to give them more educational, the CDIO kind of education. CDIO is conceptualization, design, implement, and operate. This is a very good framework which is popular now in Europe as well as US. Where the students are, really develop proof of concepts and prototypes. So they tend to express everything through these, prototypes and, proof of concepts rather than writing from memory and, so if you're talking about electrical engineer, we should be fixing the fuse and should be really working on some, household electricity or company electricity. That is the kind of model. Also, this needs, professors also need to be equipped first. There are professors like, you're talking about, what you're seeing in MIT, Professor Kandekar and, Professor Hiwale and all. They are already well versed in, but there are so many others out there today in various cities who are not at all connected with the latest. They are not equipped first. So when students come and bring ideas, it is not their first priority, right? So as a result, the innovation dies, right? People tend to, whatever enthusiasm they had in terms of forming the idea, that withers away. Because that is not going to be respected. That is not going to be rewarded, right? People are not there to listen to you. I think we need to equip the professors to come out of just that old style of learning, create a new style of learning. There needs to be time given. Uh, there needs to be at least 20% of time allocated in the syllabus every semester for research-oriented and prototype building, industry visits, and doing intense depth on particular areas. Just like Google does kite flying projects, we also need to have from every student to have something as a kite flying idea, which he or she can develop. Very, very important. So it is a combination of professors, teachers, the educational system, starting from school, and the mindset. We have to move away from job seekers to job creators, right? Consumers to creators. For example, if you talk about our apps, our students are all very good users of these apps. They know how to download, how to use, and things like that. But the mindset should move away from that to one of creation. We need to respect and reward the creators. We need to really celebrate them. I think the playfulness and the experimentation, a sense of achievement, a sense of creation needs to be rewarded. I think once we start doing all this, I am sure the culture of innovation will start spreading, and we will have our educational system as the gaps will get automatically addressed. Our research and development outputs, the outcomes, the volume, quality, everything will improve.
I just would like to add to Mr. Rajaram there that see the other way of doing all this is see we have industry awards, industry innovation awards. Why not academic innovation awards? And whether this is being done by universities of tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, we need to have academic innovation awards which are your very own, by thereby creating personal brands of people who have created, as Rajaram was saying, you need to celebrate, you need to reward them, otherwise how will you motivate them to, and so that they become a personal brand. And it's wonderful if you have academic awards, academic innovation awards, and industries can sponsor them, industries can sponsor these events and activities if you're short of funds, but recognize them, brand them, create a reputation, then go to the corporates. They will not say no to you, because as Rajaram said, as Praveen says, the people are do not know what you guys do. You don't talk enough meaningfully. That storytelling is missing. So if you are not great at that as a university, don't do it. Hire a professional agency, a PR agency, or a communication agency, or an integrated marketing agency. They can do it for you. They can tell you a story. But if you don't tell those meaningful stories, no big corporations will hire for you, because they think that you're not worth it. If you can't communicate, it means that you have not done anything. You might have done great things, but how do the people know? How do the world knows? So from that perspective, I emphasize, I reiterate again and again, creating that brand for the work that you have done is very, very important. And don't forget this. This is at each and every step. Please hire professional agencies if you have to, and that can be done very smoothly, at least until such time that you get your own skill of doing it yourself. So I think from that perspective, I agree with Rajaram that it is about kind of supporting the academic achievements, innovations from time to time in a very meaningful way. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with you, Krishna. In industry, we always say you have to beat your own drums, right? Nobody else is going to come and beat
Nobody
it,
will do it.
right?
It's like in your own classroom. For example, your own professor will not know what you're thinking in your mind unless you put it out. No? If your professor cannot understand this, how will the world understand? How will the corporation understand? And I agree with Khandekar sir that when he says that, kind of, we are doing this, we are doing that and all that. But yes, I love the way he says, I'm going to support only socially society meaningful innovations and that can create impacts. I'm not interested in somebody working in a shallow or a very narrow approach towards creating wonderful things which have no meanings to the society at large. He says, I love interdisciplinary projects because that's where it adds value to the society. So he's very clear with the things. So that's the way you brand it. That's how corporations want you. Nobody is interested in some isolated achievement or innovation which cannot connect back to the humanity. There is no meaning. So from that perspective, whatever you do, please brand yourself well. And there is enough opportunity for every growing university to come up to the levels of IITs. IITs have the biggest strength of IITs is doing very deep research and development, and they do it, and they are able to tell the story meaningfully a little later on. Okay, I think that's the point that I wanted to make. Thank you.
Yeah, very good suggestions from both of you. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Very good suggestion for addressing the gaps. Another question I have, as Mr. Rajaram is from IISc and even now he's mentor for IIT Madras ECell and now with Weldtech as well. So I'd like to pose this question to Mr. Rajaram. For research and development, premium institutions like IITs and IISc and some research institutions, they are well supported by the government and corporates. But there is very less scope for private institutions and private universities. So what measures will help private institutions to attract the funding for research and development from industries and government? Mr. Rajaram, please. Partly already this is to some extent covered by Mr. Krishna. I want remarks from Mr. Rajaram for this.
Was it, yeah, very, very pertinent question, Mr. Hiwale. So, see, if you look at the private universities, so one of the common issues they come up with is, hey, we don't have funding, right? We don't have government funding. We don't have CSR funding and whatever. So that is a real challenge for them. So one of the important things we need to do is, this is where there is a saying, you put a small fish to catch a big fish, right? So the university also needs to make certain commitments in terms of seed funding to start some centers of excellence, right? Once it is like a venture capitalist would like to see first the innovator putting the entire money, right? So his or her skin in the game. Then only the VCs are going to come in and put their money, right? Same way, if you look at, you want to grow your incubator, initially you have to put your own money, little bit, right? To show that initiative, to show some proof of concepts, to show some prototypes, do some globally. See, today, one of the advantages is, there are universities from Korea, Taiwan, Australia, UK, Japanese, German. So they want to collaborate with, Indian university. The professors there have funds to, collaborate, work on, various new. If you take the IT side, AML, blockchain, the leading areas, the professors in other universities have funds, and they are looking for research partners. So we are seeing many of them, like for example, Fraunhofer of Germany, has many opportunities. They have a representative office in India, and they work with many of the universities. So participation in international conferences and connecting, working with the industry. I think industry-aligned courses. That is how the relationship starts for these kind of private universities. Try to engage the private companies by asking them to give problems, real-life problems to the student projects. Then ask them to conduct courses which are industry-aligned courses, so that right from the start, first year onwards, there are courses which the private companies can come and take, and thereby, for example, L&T, we work with L&T, and L&T designed courses happen from first year onwards. As a result, there is some collaboration that happens. So at the end of L&T absorbs some of the people. So like that, WAPCO has got closer involvement right from the start. So try to involve industry and industry-aligned courses. Do more. So more and more initiatives, invite for guest lectures. More and more inputs on the latest can come only from the industry, not from internally, right? So I think from more inside in, you have to become inside out. You have to come outside in, right? Bring more and more people from outside to the university, and slowly increase the level of engagement and the level of partnership. Provide interns to them, provide various types of assistance, and as a result, more and more connections. I think that is one way of growing. Provide some seed fund, so that create some infrastructure and show it. So infrastructure is very, very important, right? I have been in Infosys. There are several clients who come there, who come to the campus. We take in a golf cart, we take them around. Incidentally, that happened with one of the clients, senior VP. After going through all the facilities, she jokingly asked me, right, where should I submit the resume, right? That is the kind of environment. The environment also creates, for corporates, they want to work with, good environments. So very, very important in all these dimensions. Then the technology business incubator is a very, very important theme. See, today, there are various schemes coming for women entrepreneurs. There are schemes for SC/ST funding. Today, see, as an incubator, we are aware of such fundings. For example, there was recently a SC/ST related startups government was looking for, and you won't believe there are very, very less number, but the government has got so much money to fund. Each of them can get 30 lakhs for working on various ideas. So like that, we need to really look for areas where for women related entrepreneurship, these kind of category related entrepreneurship, defense related schemes. There are so many things available. So there are various innovation challenges the Startup India comes up with very now and then. So it is very, very important to keep the antenna up and ensure that the right signals are captured and timely applications are made. So just like that is on from the university side. From the government side, I would say, just like institutions of eminence, which committing large funds, I would say the next, they also had to identify the next ranking institutions, right? The next rung of universities who are showing deep promise, and come up with schemes. Could be along with corporates, or it could be the government itself. Based on certain parameters, come up with funding schemes for them. Similarly, while all this, they should also decommission. I feel I am very strong on that. The fact that they also, just like promotion department, they should also have a decommissioning department. That is how they have to identify universities which are not doing well, which are not working on relevant things, which are not investing in research and development, and see that they are kind of degraded, or in terms of support, they should, the government should lower the support and lower the recognition, and somewhere induce them into kind of achieving higher outcomes rather than being running the status quo and being irrelevant. So I think these are some of my thoughts in this area.
I just want to add. To Rajaram say. So I've worked in the corporates, so I know the other side of the story as well. See, there is something called, I know, hackathons and other things are one level, but there are also professional game changer ideas where you people can participate in it, and 30 lakhs could be government funding for some of the schemes, but corporations, private corporations can fund you much higher. I'm talking about top class game changing ideas which can really change the industry, the way it looks at. I mean, you saw how mobile phones, and now today you have electric cars coming in. A few years from now you will have electric buses, electric trucks. A friend of mine who came down from Sweden tells me that there are no more IC engine cars in Sweden. They say it's all electric cars. It's a matter of time it happens in India. So where did the game change? At what point in time? 5 years ago, 10 years ago? How is Tesla coming into Bangalore? What kind of R&D will happen in Bangalore, in India? And what is this game changing things? So most of these big corporations have what is called as game changer ideas. They welcome it, they pay a lot, they fund a lot, they support you with everything. I know Shell does it, for example. So does a few other companies. They're all open on the website. There is nothing, they say there are website, there are contests, there are schemes and programs that are there. You people, I mean, universities can latch on to it, encourage the students, just like how you do the placement coordination part of it. The innovation excellence, how you can promote this could be one other way of doing it. And there should be a very focused approach of getting to the corporation only to see what R&D innovation are they looking at, so that we can prepare our students to go do the same.
Yeah, thank you, Krishna. Thank you, Rajam, for your wonderful inputs. I do have a few more questions, but it's already 1:32, and the session is supposed to close at 1:30. I don't know whether we'll be able to take more questions or not. Is it possible, Dr. Ketki Kulkarni, Praveen Patil ji?
Yeah, I think you can take the last question.
Okay. So one of the questions that we have is like, as per Times Higher Education World University Rankings, not a single Indian university is in top 300 universities of the world. Mr. Krishna also has expressed this in his opening remarks. So where is the problem? What are the gaps, according to you, Mr. Rajaram? How to address this particular gap? How our institutes, can occupy position in top 100, top 200 universities? Why they are not there in top 300?
Yeah, Shivale, I kind of looked at the parameters on which the evaluation is being done. There is teaching, right? Teaching, the important sub-criteria, it consists of reputation, PhD to staff ratio, student to teacher ratio, branding, right? What Krishna talked about.
Yeah, there are various parameters like this, and these premium institutes, there is no problem with faculty student ratio. There is no problem with the funds that are available. And then, I mean, they have almost everything for research and development. R&D research is one of the important parameter, right? And correct. Then some faculties.
Yeah, very true. So if you go deep, I think it is at the end of the day, it is all about numbers. right?
Yeah.
A number game. That teaching gets 30%, research, citations, international outlook, and then the industry income. So though the international outlook, industry income may not be so appreciable when compared to many of the foreign universities, but we definitely can, really should do well on teaching, research, and citations. So again, if you look at citations, there are, for example, technology-related outcomes, publications get more citations than, for example, art or a science-related citation. So vice versa. Some people also say, differently. So definitely, this is something alarming. I don't know. At least Indian Institute of Science, my alma mater has come in the 300 to 350th rank, but that is not something to be proud of. Only relatively within India, maybe we can be proud of that. But the fact that there are 300 institutions above and where we could not rank is really alarming. I think we need to dwell deep into the various segments and benchmark ourselves. I think one of the things what I looked at many of the universities don't have is the benchmarking department. Kind of like for to set up to improve quality, to improve benchmarking, to really do external participation. How do we ensure that parallelly while the main people are working on various areas, how are we how are we doing on things relating to these kind of benchmarks? I think there needs to be a separate department who needs to be focusing on these areas. Uh, Instead of just focusing on best practices, we need to move to next practices. So it is not enough if anymore we are doing or following the best practices which we have been doing for so long. I think we need to move on to next practices, more and more of innovation, more and more of brand. Uh, I think it is not anymore just theory. It is about more IPs, more research income, research influence, branding at a global level, uh, improving the international outlook in terms of collaboration. So if you take Stanford or Harvard or some of the leading Oxford, there is they have the best of everybody there. I think we don't see that kind of people, foreign professors and the best of minds coming to Indian universities and participating in research. And I think it has to improve quite a lot. We need to be able to attract that kind of initiative, branding, and our innovation out should also convey it to the world. So we need to really adopt techniques like start, stop, continue, where which are the things we need to start fresh, which are the things we need to stop doing, right? And which are the things we should continue and do more. There needs to be rigorous introspection, and our global benchmarking needs to dramatically increase.
I
I,
just uh, uh, I just want
Yeah,
to add
Krishna.
to Rajaram. I just want to add a
Yeah, yeah.
very
I,
small way that what Rajaram has been saying. Um, See, it is true that one of the other ways is benchmark as the other one that we talk about. But you see, IITs, NITs, the private universities, unless the government, I'm not sure, maybe one of you can help me, whether it's already there. The ranking of universities by the government of India is required. I'm not sure if there is one already. And does it get periodic evaluation and get done it? If we don't do it in the country, why will the others around the world will get us into those 300 universities? There is no benchmark, as he says. So this is a one area where we have to pool all the universities together. My suggestion, of course, IIT and NITs may have a different way of looking at it, but IITs, NITs, other universities can all be in the same pool. And I would like to see one day a 50th university in India, a private university, surpassing that in an NIT or a IIT university and going up a little bit and then say, okay, this is there. That's when it is. Otherwise, if we are always segregating IITs, NITs, and the private institutes separately, we will never be able to do that. I think pulling together, let them have a level playing field, so that they can, have been ranked in different ways. What's wrong if an NIT gets scored under, in comparison with the private university? Nothing wrong. So it's the way we create a competitive. And once, as Rajaram says, a benchmark is done, an official government of India benchmarking and evaluation and ranking is done. The foreign university, we were talking about 300 universities. We are not in any of the 300 top universities around the world. When we don't rank ourselves, why will the world recognize us? It's simple as that. So I think it's about that as well. So I just had to say that, add to that point. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Krishna. I think it's already 1:40. So now we'll have to stop because there is a lunch break and again another session starting at 2. So all the participants should have sufficient time. So thank you both of you for your valuable inputs on this very important topic of role of educational institutions in research and development initiatives in India. Thank you so much. We missed having Mr. Nitin Garg. I would like to hand over now to the anchor, Dr. Purnima, for further instructions, please.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Professor Anil Hiwale. And thank you so much to all the dignitaries who have joined us on the online dais for this very interesting session. And we have had some very innovative ideas streamed through in this session. And now I would request all the participants to join us at 2:30 p.m. sharp for the next session. The next session is on industry, academia, knowledge collaboration, role of corporates in India. So session 2 will start at 2:30 p.m. sharp without wasting a minute. I would be concluding this session with the permission of the authorities so that we all can have a lunch break and come back quickly and join at 2:30. So thank you so much once again, all of you. See you at 2:30 p.m. sharp for session 2 of Indcon 3.